Welcome to Christian Musician Training Resource and my new series on applied music theory. Well, I will be showing you how to take theory and apply it to songs rather than just using it in its generic form. In this particular series, we're going to be talking about chord substitution and the method of adding chord movement to a song's chord progression. So chords moving in fourths or fifths, they're the most common sequences that you would hear in popular music. You may not know what it is when you hear it, but if someone describes it to you, you will know you've heard it before. The sound is familiar to the ear, and it's an easy way to add harmony to a song without drastically altering its quality. There's a lot of ways to modify chords and add chords and even move chords in and out of key centers, but sometimes they alter the quality of the song. Um, and there's cases where that may be good depending on who the singer is and depending on what genre of music you're trying to play the song in. But for this purpose, and for using gospel praise and worship music, we're going to try to stay without drastically altering the sound quality of the song, but actually adding a little bit more harmony to it. When you look at circular movement, in one direction chords move in fourths. So if you're going from C to F, that's a fourth, and likewise F to B flat to E flat, and etc. And you can see in the chart that you would be moving to your left on this particular chart if you're going to be moving in fourths, and ultimately you'll round back to C. If you're moving in fifths in the opposite direction, you'd be moving from C to G, which most people understand that's a fifth. Because C is a common key that people begin to learn how to play piano in. So if you go to C to G, that's a fifth, G to D is a fifth, D to A is a fifth, and so forth. And you would go around through all of the notes on the piano until you arrive back at C. What I was going to say was all the notes in the scale or in the key signatures, because you can also use the uh, circle to identify the order of sharps and flats. For instance, when you're moving in fifths, you're moving in the direction of adding sharps. So as you go around the circle to your right, you would be adding sharps. And if you're moving in fourths, when you go around, you would be adding flats. But that's beyond the scope of this particular lesson. It's covered in a little detail in the other videos I have on the site on the number system, chords, and chord progressions. So if you haven't taken a look at those, you may want to. Then if you take this principle and you apply it to a scale, then you come up with some interesting options for adding chords, and that's what we're going to pull from to add chords to our sample song. If you arrange the notes, for example, for the key of C major in a circle of fourths format, you would have C, F, B, E, A, D, and G. Those are the notes in the scale, but they're arranged in fourths. And if you apply the number system to the notes, it produces the pattern 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So you can see if your song is a 1, 4, 5 song, you have options of additional chords that you could add in the progression, depending again on where the melody is taking you, that might allow you to add additional chord harmony to the song without altering drastically the quality of the song. And then if you use this pattern, it can be used to add chords to any song once you understand the pattern. Scale-based circle of fourths is going to be used for our example on the song Open the Eyes of My Heart by Paul Balash. What we're going to do is add a 7-3-6 progression to the existing song's progression, and then we're going to add also add a 5-1-4 progression. And you see the little notes in parentheses indicate that if you're doing the 7-3-6, you're actually changing the key center to where the 6 becomes the focus for the 2-5-1 rather than the root of the chord. And then with the 5-1-4, the 2-5-1 focuses on the 4 of the chord as the 1 chord rather than the root of the chord. But that, again, is covered more in the number system and in chords and chord progressions, and that's beyond the scope of this particular lesson right now. In the original song, Open the Eyes of My Heart, the song uses a 1-7-6-1 progression over the chorus. And the chorus is the only part of the song that I'll be using for the example of applying additional chord harmony for this particular lesson. So why don't we take a listen to how the song sounds using a 1-7-6-1 progression. Now that's the way most churches play it. The tempo may vary a little bit, the instruments involved may be different, but that's the way the song sounds in its original form with a 1-7-6-1. So now let's look at where we're going to add the 7-3-6. The 6 is already in the chord, so we're adding a 7 and a 3 in front of it. The 5-1-4 is new, but we pretty much keep the rest of the song the way it is. Here comes the 7-3-6, and here comes the 5-1-4. Okay, we'll go through it one more time. In the substitute progression, you will see that we use the 7-3-6, and we talked briefly about changing key centers. And in this example, I'm going to show you just briefly what I was talking about. The 1 in the key of the song would be a major chord, and then it would move around the circle to the 4, the 7, the 3, 6, the 2, and the 5. In the temporary key change where 6 becomes the focus, you'll see that the 6 is a minor chord. So that creates a 2-5-1 in a minor scale, and that's where we get the 7-3-6 from. It's 7-3-6 because of the bass notes. We describe it from the position of the original key, but in actuality the chords function as a 2-5-1 for the key of the sixth of the scale. The same holds true for the 5-1-4. The major scale is used as the parent for giving a name to uh, the chords. And if you notice in the 5-1-4, we actually changed the dominant chord to a minor chord. And the 4 is already major, but it becomes a dominant chord in a 5-1-4. And that temporarily changes the focus of the key from the 1 chord, which is the root of the original key, to the 4 chord of the original key. Now that's a little bit more than I intended to go into, but there'll be a video that actually talks about changing key centers in the future, and it will be applied to another song, and you'll be able to see how that actually works. But for the purpose of this particular video, you can see that we added a 7-3-6 excuse me, and a 5-1-4 to give the song a little bit different flavor. So our circle of fourths and fifths, in summary, we see they provide the most common sequences in music today. The sound is one that is familiar to the ear. I'm sure you've heard that altered sound that I did with the 7-3-6 and the 5-1-4. You've heard it in other songs, maybe not on Open the Eyes of My Heart, but you've heard it in other songs. It's an easy way to add chords to a song. This same principle can be applied to any scale using the number system. So that's why I didn't focus on the key of a song, and I didn't actually give you the names of the chords that were being played. I just gave you the quality of the chords that were being played: major, minor, sharp 7, sharp 5, and so forth. The principle of substitution here is one of adding chord movement without drastically altering the sound. I hope you found this to be helpful. I hope you'll subscribe to the website, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and stay tuned for additional videos that will be coming with more frequency than my previous ones. If you're interested in getting a free book with music theory that has the music theory that you really want to have, it'll go over some of these concepts that I'll be covering in videos and applying to songs. If you're interested in that, it's available for your subscription to my webpage. You can get that at christianmusiciantrainingresource.com. So thank you for your watching this video, and stay tuned for additional videos in the future. All right, God bless.